Good morning, Ria. It's beautiful to be here again this beautiful Wednesday morning. And of course, what's on the table is something that matters to Nigerians, the economy, because the presidency called it a minor reshuffle of his cabinet. And I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are interested in what is happening. So let's get down to it.
Good morning, Nigerians, and welcome to FCT Brief. It's nice to be here on this Wednesday morning. Now, Nigeria's political landscape is once again in sharp focus as President Bola Tinubu makes a sweeping move at the heart of his administration. In a decisive cabinet reshuffle, key ministers have been relieved of their duties, including the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, and the Minister of Housing, Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa. The development has sparked widespread reactions across political and economic cycles, raising critical questions about policy direction, governance priorities, and the administration's next phase.
This shakeup comes at a time when Nigerians are grappling with economic pressures, housing concerns, and expectations from tangible reforms, while the presidency positions the move as a strategic recalibration to enhance performance and delivery. Analysts are already weighing the implications, whether this signals a bold reset or a response to mounting public and institutional pressures. The timing, the choice of portfolio affected, and the anticipated replacement all point to a deeper narrative unfolding within the corridors of power. Joining us this morning is Obafemi George, a respected political scientist who will offer sharp insights into the political calculations behind this decision and what it could mean for governance and stability moving forward. Stay with us as we examine the power dynamics, the message behind the reshuffle, and the potential impact on Nigeria's policy trajectory. Thank you so much, Mr. George, for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. If you can hear me, Mr. President refers to this as a minor reshuffle. That's by removing the coordinated Minister of Economy, replacing him with Mr. Oyedele. Now, changing a coordinating Minister of the Economy, would you say this is a minor reshuffle? And how would you justify Mr. Wale Edun's exit?
In my opinion, this is not a minor reshuffle. When you replace a minister that is overseeing the entire economy, it's not minor because that's one ministry that is equal to 15 other ministries. And the way I see it, the message is very clear. You know, what we're used to is that, I mean, this is 10 months to a presidential election, 5 months into a campaign. For the president to do this, the message is very clear. He's not taking his foot off the pedal. You know, normally in Nigeria, we're used to, by this time, governance takes backseat and everybody is involved about campaign. And people saw about policies get stagnated, projects and programs take backseat, and everyone is just focusing on the next election. But the president is changing his coordinating minister of economy 10 months to the election. He's not going to sleep. He's simply telling Nigerians, campaign is campaign, but I'm still governing. I still want to deliver on my promises. And you can skin this cow in different ways. From the president's perspective, that is how I see it. It's also a very strong message even to the members of the team. Because, you know, the whisper in the corridor of power is that Mr. Wale Edun is actually part of the Ida caucus. And if you think about it, he's been with Mr. President since his days as a governor in Lagos State. So he's been with him for like 30 years. So this is the so-called kitchen cabinet. So if the president could let go of someone, quote unquote, kitchen cabinet, then for the rest of the team, he's simply telling them, ship up or you ship out. And that's one thing that comes with age. Once you cross that 70-year threshold, you're courageous, you are fearless. You're not thinking of the next house you want to build, the next car you want to buy. You're thinking of legacy. So you're not thinking of people's opinion. You just want to write your name in history.
All right.
And I think, for me, that's my interpretation. The president just wants to write his name in history. And for Mr. Wale Edun, I think it would also walk out of that office with his head up high and his shoulders squared.
All right, Mr. George.
There are statistics that can also prove,
Mr.
this is
George,
what I've done.
Let's look at some of those statistics
Yes,
you're talking about. Where we're coming from, it's good we look at where we're coming from. This administration is coming from. It inherited a fragile economy, and under the coordinating minister of the economy was able to stabilize that. I also remember that even inflation, we was able to reduce inflation and also increase the growth rate. Now, what exactly would you say, given those positives that the Minister Edu has been able to achieve while he was in charge, and the new man coming in? What are those immediate steps we expect that he should take to stabilize what we already have and to improve on what his predecessor has done?
So the major task before Oyedele right now, because it needs to look beyond the successes that Mr. Wale Edo has achieved. And they are quite historical. I mean, you just dropped it, but if you drill down to those figures, they are quite historical. Because when he resumed office, when this administration came in 2023, remember, Sylvester, inflation was 34%.
Yeah.
According to the Bureau of Statistics, as at last month, it has dropped to 15.34. That is like 55% reduction. That doesn't happen just like that anywhere. When he came in, external reserve was a little over $3 billion US. Today, it is almost $50 billion US. If not for the Iran and the US, crisis in the Middle East, that was when it dropped by $2 billion. So those are not just mere feet. We have an economy that is growing at 4.1%. But for Oyedele, it's for him to look beyond those. And he's been part of the team anyway. He's done very well, with the tax reforms. So, but he needs to look beyond that. Now, he's inheriting an economy that is grappling with a global issue. Because what is going on in Iran is an external shock to a local economy. So it needs to see how it can create a buffer and defend our economy against that particular external shock, which is shaking economies all over the world. I was reading up some data about 2 days ago where they analyzed the cost of fuel across the globe. In the US now, it's like $4.20 per gallon everywhere. People are complaining across the globe. So first task before Oyedele is to sit down and see how can we defend our economy against this particular external shock.
All right, Mr. George.
What if this crisis goes on for the next 3 months? What if US and Iran, what if they can't reach a compromise? What do we need to do? That is its immediate task. And how can it cushion the effect of this external shock on the average Nigerian? Yes, government is doing quite a lot of palliative things, giving money to the vulnerable, but it needs to now sit down. Now, the buck stops at his table. When he was overseeing the tax reform and he was just part of the team, he could dodge some bullets. When he made him Minister of State about a month ago, he could still be deflecting. But now he's on that chair. So there's no excuse. Nigerians are going to come after him. So he needs to come up with immediate solutions.
If you may allow me come in here, you spoke about the removal of Mr. Wale Edu as clear. And you said that this is a sign that, the president still has his foot on the pedal. Now, you agree with me that some of the reform that was introduced while Mr. Wale Edu was coordinating minister, some Nigerians will say they've had a tough time, as a result of these reforms. Now, insiders also point to complaints over poor capital budget releases, disrupted budget implementation, and what lawmakers describe as a near-zero capital execution. Would you say these are the reasons for Mr. Wale Edu's removal?
When things like this happen, you're going to hear a lot of stories out there. You're going to hear a lot of projections. People are going to, all kinds of permutations. So, and for us, I don't get distracted with those things that, you read online, all kinds of insinuations. The point is, he has been removed. For whatever reason, best known to the president, he has been removed. Now we have a new minister on that seat. And it's an opportunity for him to write his name in history, to say, okay, when I took over, irrespective of the achievement, irrespective of the, historical achievement of the previous minister, these and these and these and these are the things that I'm doing or that I've done. So we need to go beyond us, all those rhetorics, and focus on how do we go from where we are right now to where we need to be between now and the next elections, or between now and when, the president starts the second term. That's the conversation
Mr. George, that
we
does
need
not
to be having
directly answer my question.
All those insinuations.
I feel you're waving my question off because, the reforms that we that are in place currently, Nigerians are experiencing hardship because of that. So is this an admittance by the government to say, okay, there might be some challenges with these reforms not properly implemented, and that is the reason for this removal and replacement?
Like I said, I wasn't waiving your question. Government hasn't come out, the president hasn't come out to say, this was the reason why I changed it. So you can make a conclusion, I can make a conclusion, he can make a conclusion. And that's why I said people will draw up all kinds of conclusions when things like this happen. For a ministry that is that crucial, people will make conclusions. However, certain facts we cannot run away from. Yes, there's a temporary pain because of this. I've explained, different fora. When you're transiting from an import-based unstructured economy, which we've practiced for decades, into an export-based economy, where, government is putting in place infrastructure, where you've made two critical decisions: removal of subsidy, floating the naira. We will go through that threshold of pain. World Bank have told us, that for every new policy, it takes 3 years from implementation to when you begin to see the fruits of a change in policy. And I think that if you look at it, we are about making that call of the 3rd year. And there's this maxim I like to use. It's either we pay now or we play later. Or we play now or we pay later. Whichever way, we're going to pay the price for a better Nigeria. So right. This pain we are going through, it is temporary. We can already see that these things are beginning to yield positive results. All
right, Mr. George, I'd like you to hold your thoughts because we need to take a quick break now. Don't go anywhere. We still have more for you on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Now we're still discussing the reshuffle of President Tinubu's cabinet, and still with us is Obafemi George.
All right, Mr. George, let's talk a bit about the housing minister that was relieved, Mr. Dangiwa. According to statistics, with Nigeria's housing deficit is about 15 million, which means about 15 million Nigerians don't have a roof, adequate housing. Now, what would you say about the performance of this minister that has just been relieved of his responsibility? A lot of people said that they've not heard much about him. His impact has not been felt. That the housing impact was what is seen from the Federal Housing Authority, but the ministry has not actually made any impact when it comes talk about housing. Now, what's your thought about this?
So professionally, I'm in the real estate business, coincidentally, and that's what I've done for over 20 years. And I was just talking to a colleague last night, and we were both comparing notes, and he was asking me, how is practice? And I said, Ajide, from 2023, we have seen a boom in the real estate market. And he said, yes, that's true. So for us that are on the field, we know that there is a boom in real estate market since 2023 from all indices, either increase in construction, increase in sales, increase in activity, expansion of real estate. Remember that in 2025, if you remember, that real estate became the largest contributor to our GDP last year. I always like to talk in figures and facts. Real estate sector became the largest contributor to our GDP as at 2025. That's not a coincidence. And people saying that, oh, they want to measure his performance. As a minister for housing, his job is not to build houses. It is the policies. That is what that ministry does. So it's not the ministry that's going to increase, the housing unit that comes into the market. It's the policies that he implements that drives that. And there's a system that has been put in place, which people are also not talking about, where you can go to the bank and borrow as much as 100 million naira to acquire a house. That's again, for those of us in the market, we have seen the impact. Because prior to that time, the loan that was available was 5 million naira, the National Housing Fund loan. And for a decade, we've been complaining as practitioners, end users have been complaining that which house can you buy for 5 million naira, even in your village? But under this minister, now there's a fund that is being managed by ARN, where you and I can borrow up to 100 million naira. That can buy you a house anywhere you live, either in Lagos or in Port Harcourt or in Abuja, any city in Nigeria. And that's a game changer. And we have seen the impact in the market.
All right, Mr. George.
Also, because people have also, it's because I've read some comments online, people say that, oh, maybe the president removed him for political reasons because of election. But Dangiwa is from Katsina. His replacement is also from Katsina. So it's not that, oh, he dropped the man from Katsina, picked someone else from Kano. So this is not about the election. This is pure about the president that wants to rejig this team that is. And I must tell you, if you ask me, my gut feelings, I don't think we've seen the last.
All right. Speaking of not seeing the last, Mr. George,
there'll still be more.
If you permit me to come in here, now we have a new coordinating minister of the economy, Mr. Oyedele, who is expected to step into the shoes of Mr. Wale Edun, who you praise has done quite well. And also, Mr. Oyedele has also been praised for doing quite well in terms of tax reforms. Now, would you say his experience and his expertise in taxation would translate to coordinating an economy like Nigeria? Would that spell progress?
I must say that, it's a different kettle of fish. Because if you look at Oyedele's, professional progression, he's been a taxman, okay, for decades. But migrating from being a taxman to managing the entire economy, that's a different kettle of fish. But I don't expect that he's going to do it alone. Because as a minister, as a coordinating minister, yes, he's directly responsible for our fiscal policies. But you also have a CBN that's responsible for our monetary policy. And what drives an economy, okay, what moves an economy forward is when your fiscal policies align critically well, okay, with your monetary policy. So I don't see him working as a lone ranger. I see a handshake between him as a coordinating minister and the CBN. So basically, it's not going to depend solely on his experience. It's going to leverage on the experience of other team leads around him. So I'm not going to say that, what is bringing it as a taxman is what is going to use it. It's completely different.
All right, Mr. George.
And like I said, your responsibility as a minister of state is quite different from responsibility as the minister.
Okay. All right, Mr. George, you have praised the Minister of Housing that under him the policies have helped that particular subsector, and there has been growth in that subsector. But according to that statistics I read earlier, about 15 million housing are deficit. Now, a new minister is coming in. What are those changes you will expect? Because at the end of the day, the ordinary Nigerians say housing is expensive. Though there is a boom, but the access to those housing is quite expensive. Now, what are those steps you will expect the new minister to take so that the ordinary people, the people in the village, can feel the impact of these policies that have been put in place?
So if you ask me, there is one policy we've been crying about for years, which we think will make a huge difference. And it is this 1976 land use decree. We would want the minister to look at the land ownership in Nigeria. Because you see, land is everything. The cost of construction is the same. The cost of cement to build in Ikoyi is the same cost of cement to build in a village in Kwara, in Abuja, or in Port Harcourt. So the major factor is the land. And the shortfall that we have in housing, it's not luxury housing, it is actually social housing. So we would want to see a policy that will address that social housing. We would want to see this coming minister to interrogate how did we do it in the 70s that we could build mass housing across the 6 geopolitical zones? How did Baba Jakonde, how did he do it in Lagos, that was able to build social housing in Lagos State, that up till today, we are still talking about Jakonde Estate? That is one area it needs to address. The middle class and the upper middle class, the high net worth, they will always sort out themselves. Okay? It's the people at the bottom of the pyramid. That is where you have a bulk of that 15 to 18 million deficit, depending on the statistics you're looking at, because one statistic says 15 million, another one says 18 million. So that is one policy we want him to deliver on between now and May 29. Social housing, by looking at land ownership in Nigeria. We want to see that. Once that changes, it will open up that sector. The ripple effect will create jobs in hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions. And once people have access to housing, which is what it lifts people out of poverty. That's why in developed countries, in the UK and in the US, nobody pays 5 million naira, 2 million, 3 million to rent a house. What we pay to rent a house in Nigeria is actually equal to your equity contribution that you can make as a down payment to buy your own house in developed society. So that is one area we want him to look at. Let him deliver on that single policy, and Nigeria will thank him forever.
All right, Mr. George, whenever random Nigerians speak about government reforms and, they complain about the hardship, they're being told to be patient. They will soon begin to reap the benefits of these reforms. Now, with this reshuffling, would you say that this will translate to more money in the pockets of Nigerians? They'll begin to really see the benefit of the reforms as it stands? Because, or is this just an elite reshuffling and we're still in for, harder times?
As of January this year, our economy was on a cruise control. Until you and I woke up one day and we saw the breaking news. Israel and US have attacked Iran. And we found ourselves where we are today, grappling with this external shock. If that had not happened, we have begun to see the impact of these changes at the macro level. The man on the street have begun to feel it. And if you remember, government has started flaunting, some data that, how much was a bag of rice in 2023 when we came into government? It was 140,000 naira per 50 kg bag. And as at today, it's 65,000 naira per bag. So we began to see it until this external shock happened. But however, we are open and we are putting the responsibility on this. And I said it earlier, that this new minister, he has his job cut out for him. People want to feel, they want to feel it in their pocket. And, I remember what Bill Clinton said, former president of the US, during his days when he was campaigning. He said, it's the economy, stupid. In other words, saying that campaign, it's about the economy. The man on the street doesn't care about anything else. He's thinking about his pocket.
All right,
what
Mr.
is
George.
my take-home pay?
Just quickly, Mr. George.
That's Revealing's job.
Just quickly, the president has made some reshuffle, and also, what exactly do you think the subnationals should do? Because when you say the coordinating minister of the economy, it's coordinating the economy of Nigeria. What exact adjustment can subnationals put in place to ensure also that we have this dividend of democracy deepened to the grassroots?
Sylvester, now this is my opinion, and I've said it a couple of times. At the subnational level, talking about the governors and the local government, my challenge is actually to Nigerians. We don't ask enough of them. Everything that goes right or wrong, we call the president. We call out the president. We need to begin to ask questions and begin to demand for more from our governors and from our local government. Because you see, what this outgoing minister has done, government has put more money in the hands of the governors and the local government, more than they've ever seen in the history of Nigeria. So there's no excuse at the subnational any longer. But, you know, they are shielded by our political culture that blames the president for everything. And that's not going to change until we, the people, begin to ask for more. If we don't, nothing is going to change at a subnational level. We'll still keep blaming the president. So what we need to do is to begin to demand for more, right from the local government level.
Speaking about demanding for more, now that the president has done a minor reshuffle, you know, changed 2 ministers, do you think that there are still more ministers that the president should consider changing? Or do you think that, you know, the cabinet is fine as it is?
I said it earlier on, I mean, maybe like 10, 15 minutes ago. I told you, I said, my gut feelings, I believe this is not the last. I think we're still going to see a minor reshuffle between now and December. Because, mind you, we're also going into an election year. So the president wants to have the bragging right to say, you know what, I have delivered on my renewed hope agenda. And if he sees a sector of the economy where he feels that there's a gap between what he promised and what is being delivered, if he can let go of the coordinating minister, he won't think twice of letting go of anybody. So I think. Do
you have anybody in mind that you feel that the president might go after next?
I wish I could gaze into a crystal ball and tell you right now that, oh, this is what he would do. I cannot preempt. He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He has access to all the information and the classified information. So him alone knows, I mean, where else he needs to, you know, tighten the bolts and squeeze. I can't sit down here and actually tell you authoritatively that, this is where he's going to, but I'm almost very sure that we're still going to see, one or two people being let go.
All right, Mr. Obafemi George, thank you so much for your time with us on the program. It was a delight speaking with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's where we'll draw the curtain on our conversation this morning. We'll now hand you over to Lagos, where Ria and the rest of the team are standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you so much, Abuja. That was a great conversation. Thank you, as always. Thank you.